The old house on the hill had always been a place of mystery and rumors. Nestled on the outskirts of town, it was the kind of house that children dared each other to approach, the windows always dark, the walls cloaked in creeping ivy. No one had lived there for years, yet it never seemed to fall into complete disrepair. It was as though someone, was keeping the house from fading away into nothingness. I had only been in town for a few weeks, a writer in search of inspiration. I had rented a small cottage near the woods and spent my days wandering the town, exploring the old library, and drinking coffee at the only cafe. But the house on the hill, the one that no one seemed to speak about directly, had always intrigued me. I was drawn to it in a way I couldn't explain, as though the house itself had a pull on my curiosity. One rainy evening, as I returned from my usual walk, I passed the hill again and couldn't resist. The door to the house was slightly ajar, the wind pushing it open with a soft creak. It seemed foolish to enter, but something inside me urged me forward. I stood there for a moment, staring at the dark interior, the faintest flicker of light from the hallway catching my eye. Without thinking, I pushed the door open. Inside, the air was heavy with dust, the scent of old wood and mildew mixing with the mustiness of forgotten years. The grand staircase loomed before me, its banister covered in cobwebs. I hesitated, my heart pounding in my chest as the house seemed to swallow the sound of my footsteps. But something inside me, some unexplainable force, drove me forward. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step groaning beneath my weight, the silence pressing in from all sides. I reached the top of the stairs and paused, my hand gripping the banister tightly. There were 3 doors, one at the end of the hallway and 2 on either side. The one at the end of the hall beckoned to me, its faint light spilling from beneath the door. It was the only room in the house that seemed alive, as if it were waiting for someone to enter. I approached the door with slow, deliberate steps, my breath shallow, as if the air itself was thickening around me. My hand hovered over the doorknob, and as I turned it, the room beyond opened before me, dark but for the single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. The room was empty, just a bare, dusty floor, the walls lined with peeling wallpaper. But there was something else, a soft, rhythmic sound, a heartbeat. It was faint at first, as though coming from the floor beneath me, but it was unmistakable. Thump, 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 like the pulse of the house itself. I froze in place, my heart racing as the sound grew louder, more pronounced. It felt as though the room had come alive with this pulsing, this constant beat that echoed through my very bones. I turned quickly, but there was no one there. The room was still empty, save for the peeling walls and the shattered remnants of furniture that had long since decayed. The sound of the heartbeat continued, reverberating in the silence, filling the room with an eerie presence. The light bulb above me flickered once, twice, before buzzing out completely, plunging me into darkness. The heartbeat grew louder, closer, as though it were moving, shifting within the walls themselves. My heart raced faster, my breath quickening as I stumbled backward, my hands desperately searching for the doorknob. I tried to scream, but my voice seemed to be swallowed by the sound. Thump, thump, thump. The rhythm of the heartbeat grew frantic, frantic like something desperate to escape, to break free. And then there was a whisper. "Help me." The voice was barely audible, weak, as though it were struggling to make itself heard above the pounding rhythm. It was coming from somewhere in the room, from the very walls, from the floor beneath me. My legs felt weak, my body trembling as I fumbled for the door. I wanted to run, to get out, but the door wouldn't open. It was as if the house itself was holding me in place, trapping me within its walls. I turned again, my eyes scanning the empty room, looking for any sign of movement. And then I saw it, a shadow, just in the corner of my eye, darting across the far wall. My breath caught in my throat as the shadow grew, taking shape, becoming more distinct. A figure, shrouded in darkness, moving towards me. The heartbeat grew louder still, thumping in my ears as the figure reached out, its cold, clammy hand brushing against my skin. I recoiled, but there was nowhere to go. The room was closing in on me, the walls pressing in, the heartbeat overwhelming everything. My heart felt as though it might burst from the pressure, my pulse racing faster than ever before. The figure was closer now, so close I could feel its cold breath on my face. It was tall, its face obscured by shadows, but I could sense its presence. It was not human. The hand reached for me again, and as it touched my arm, I felt a sharp, searing pain, as though it were pulling something from within me. "Please," the voice whispered again. "Help me, before it's too late." The heartbeat stopped. The silence that followed was deafening. My breath was shallow, my chest tight with terror. The figure stood there, watching me, its hand still on my arm. I wanted to scream, to pull away, but my body wouldn't move. I was frozen, rooted to the spot. And then the voice came again. Only this time, it was different. It was no longer a whisper. It was a scream. "Get out!" The room shook with the force of the scream, the walls vibrating, the floor trembling beneath me. I finally managed to wrench myself free, stumbling backward, and the door swung open on its own, as though the house was pushing me out. I ran, stumbling down the stairs, my heart pounding, the sound of the heartbeat still echoing in my mind. I didn't stop running until I was outside, breathless and shaken. The rain was coming down in sheets, but I didn't care. I had to get away from that house. I had to leave. I never returned to the house on the hill. I couldn't. I don't know what it was that I encountered that night. The thing that whispered, the heartbeat that echoed in the empty room. But I know this. Something inside that house was trapped. And whatever it was waiting for someone like me to listen. And I know, in the deepest part of my soul, that it wasn't done with me.